say, getting older, I enjoy much more watching things on the small screen. You can pause stuff. You can go to Wikipedia. So yeah. Is the tone good?
Yeah, that's actually a perfect sound check. Okay. So I was a bit sneaky there, using you talking about the Matrix as a sound check.
That's good.
It's devious.
And I mean, it's topical because you've got red pill and blue pill. So the funny thing is, the Matrix works for both sides. I find if you're in the truth. When I saw it back then, I was so in the truth. So when I was in the truth, I thought we as Jehovah's Witnesses were the red pilled, and everybody in the world was supposed to be blue pilled. But then when you're out, you can also apply it to yourself like that. That when you're an apostate, you're the red pilled, and those being Jehovah's Witnesses are the blue pilled. So it works for everyone, really.
Viewers, I'm sat here with Misha Verollet. We're talking about the Matrix, and we're in a hotel somewhere in Vienna.
Yeah, in the part of Vienna called Zimmerin.
And there's a man flying a remote-controlled plane.
So he really is flying it.
He's actually launched it now.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre. We've had a very strange experience with the hotel not giving us a baby bed, which I won't go into. And it's all been very surreal. But the point is, I'm here in Vienna, and I finally get to speak to someone I very much admire.
Yeah, same.
Who's done some amazing work in, I guess, what would you call Austria and Germany collectively? Because it's not just Austria where your work's been.
Yeah, it's also Switzerland. So there's actually a name for it.
Okay.
An acronym for it. It's called DACH.
DACH.
It's Deutschland, Austria, which is funny because even in German you often say A for Austria.
Yeah.
And CH, which is the abbreviation for Switzerland.
Yeah.
So in German, Dach is roof.
Okay.
So you can even pronounce it Dach, but that's the Dach
But is that
region.
something that people kind of own, or is that just like a nice idea? Or do people
in business context, yes.
In a business context.
So especially like in my company.
When people are discussing markets.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
In English, it's the gas region, which I always find never a good idea to speak about gas in the context of Germany.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
I am also, viewers, I hope you don't mind, but I'm drinking a beer because it's been a very long day. Cheers.
There's something in Romans about drinking alcohol.
Something what?
In Romans, there's a scripture about being drunk.
It's a disfellowshipping offence.
It is, yeah. Don't. That's one of.
But Jesus turned.
Corinthians.
Right. Okay.
Because that was the scriptural basis for my disfellowship. I have it in my letter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I
You were disfellowship for drunkenness?
No, not for drunkenness, for fornication, obviously.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
Obviously. But it's the same text, really.
Right.
Because it's don't hang around with fornicators, with drunkards.
Well, that's exactly why.
For unnatural purposes.
That's exactly why I don't hang around with Tony Morris. I mean, he doesn't know
He's
that.
drunk, yeah.
But
I'm really sure. The thing is, with people like Tony Morrison, if they weren't in the truth, I'm pretty sure you could have a really good evening. I don't think he is a bad person per se. There are some I like. How's the crazy guy called with the eyes? Who's
Stephen Lett.
Yeah.
The crazy guy with the eyes. He should have that on his convention badge.
It's just are you already liable now through this? It's just libel. No, but I think people underestimate him. I think he's evil. I think Stephen Lett is evil.
Right.
And I think Tony Morrison is hiding something. Because with the person who is so obviously, and I'm not being satirical now, but I'm being actually quite serious, with somebody who's so overtly evil and also staunch about their beliefs, I've found that they always are hiding something. So either it's his alcoholism, which I wouldn't judge because it's a sickness. I mean, that's really it's bad if it's true. If he's an alcoholic, that's really bad. But also with his take on homosexuality.
Yeah.
I mean, the worst case is he is closeted, and then that's really. Then I feel sorry for him really, because that is something we've experienced so often, and that is a really bad fate. But that's just my personal sake. I mean, you can never know. But
You think that Tony Morris is tormented by his own shortcomings,
Yeah.
and he's projecting that frustration on others.
I'm pretty sure he is,
Yeah.
because with fanatical, normally the most fanatical Jehovah's Witnesses are converts. They've been Catholic before, or anything else, or joined the flock. Anyway, in our congregation, they were the most fanatical Jehovah's Witnesses. They were those that always had an eye on us youth, what we were doing. And if you're not a convert, you often, you grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you tend to be a bit more lenient with stuff. Notwithstanding that you believe everything, but you tend to be a bit more lenient, and it's like, yeah, sure, but come on. And if you're not a convert, there's always a reason behind it. I remember we had a case in our circuit of traveling overseers. No, sorry, he wasn't traveling. He was an elder. He used to be a traveling overseer, but then he moved to a congregation with his wife. And he was really one of those speakers who, like fire and brimstone on stage. And then, must have been end of 90s, turned out he left his wife. They were just missionaries. He left his wife and moved in with a man. Had been a closeted homosexual. And it makes absolute sense, because also in psychology is often you that stuff you're dealing with, you project onto others.
And so you think the fact that Tony Morris was a convert may play some part? Is that what you're referring to?
Could be, yeah. Or it is that he has something.
Because he went to Vietnam, didn't he?
Yeah.
I actually, my theory as well is that he is that millions of Jehovah's Witnesses are paying the price for his PTSD.
Oh,
because when you listen to some of the stuff that he's said about human hot dogs and charred remains, and you can tell that he's channeling his experience in Vietnam and reinterpreting that in the context of Armageddon.
Makes a lot of sense for me.
And using that kind of fear, so it's very messed up whichever way you look at it.
And I also, that makes quite a lot of sense, but it also makes him really a bit more dangerous. Because, most of former Jehovah's Witnesses suffer from some degree of religious trauma syndrome. And I know from that in the past, before I had therapy, it led to self-harm. If it's self-harm, it's bad enough. But if that extrapolates to people outside of yourself, it would be bad enough.
So you've been on quite a journey then?
Well, haven't we all? You have been today.
That's true, a physical journey.
Yeah, now I've been on quite a journey, yeah.
So, because this is supposed to be an interview,
Okay.
Misha, let's keep things professional while we drink beer.
Yeah,
Cheers. So, how did you get involved with Jehovah's Witnesses?
I was born into it, so my parents, I'll just give a quick rundown. My parents were Jehovah's Witnesses, they still are, but when I was born, my father was not a Jehovah's Witness when he was born. His family was Roman Catholic, and he had quite a difficult childhood actually. My father's half British and French, his father was a sailor, so he never really had a good connection to his dad. And his dad was quite violent, and his mum was very Catholic. So if you know anything about Catholicism in the 40s, 50s, 60s, well, you can put two together. So he grew up as a Catholic kid. He was put in a boarding school because my grandmother couldn't handle him, and he was on the brink of starting a criminal career when he returned home from boarding school, and his mum had got baptized as a Jehovah's Witness. And somehow there was this brother in the congregation who really took a liking to him and got involved with him and became a friend for him. And that was basically how he became a Jehovah's Witness, because he found people who really got quite interested. I think that's the story of love bombing, basically. And he became a Jehovah's Witness, and then he fled from France to England because he wanted to evade military service in France. And he started pioneering when he was 17. And I think my dad, funny enough, my mum was born into Jehovah's Witnesses, and my dad was always the more understanding of the two, had more understanding for let's say the edges of being a Jehovah's Witness, having doubts, being interested in music. At the same time, I think he's 110% Jehovah's Witness. He was pioneered when he was 17. I remember telling me that he earns money writing poems actually for people. Like when they had a newspaper ad for their wedding, he wrote a poem for them. He put newspapers in his shoes in winter when he went preaching because he didn't have the money. So already as a 17, 18-year-old kid, he put his whole life on the line. And then he went to Gilead, and that's where he met my mum. So my parents were missionaries, and they went to Gibraltar, and that's where I was born. And then they left the missionary service. We moved to Germany because he was looking for a job, and that's how I came to grow up in Bielefeld, a town in western Germany that you might know from football. If you're into football, that's the shirt from my club. I'm
going to be completely honest. I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
It's
second tier at the moment, and it was,
I barely follow the first tier.
I know.
Yeah.
Or Premier League all the way. I guess.
Yeah.
If you're into football and you're not as ignorant as Lloyd,
I know about Red Bull Leipzig, which is very controversial.
Come on. Yeah.
I know about Dortmund, and I know about Bayern Munich, and one or two Bayern Leverkusen. But that's about it.
Yeah. So my hometown has a very iconic club actually. And, supporter. Anyway, Bielefeld, that's where I grew up, and the congregation there I went to was Bielefeld English.
Right.
So it was an English.
Which is why your English is so good.
Yes, and also through my dad, of course.
Right.
He was British.
Of course, yeah. Fantastic. So you were immersed in the organisation from quite a young age.
I mean, totally. Immersed is, I think immersed is even close to really encapsulating the experience because everything in our family revolved around it.
Okay. And how did, obviously you'd been raised as a witness, did you get involved in pioneering, or to what extent did you make advancement in the organisation?
Interesting question, really.
It's a very Watchtower way of putting it, isn't it?
Yeah.
To what extent did you make advancement in the organisation?
How did you put the kingdom first? I'll have to elaborate, really, because it's also the kind of dilemma I was always in. Now, thinking about meeting each other and kind of thinking about what kind of questions you would be asking, started thinking about my time, and one thing I also talk about in my book is that I never really had this relationship to Jehovah trademark. You know, everybody was talking about it. My parents always said it's important to have a relationship to Jehovah, speak to him. Everybody in the congregation somehow had some kind of relationship to Jehovah, and I never felt it. Never.
That's interesting because I had a really hard time getting my head around this concept of you must love Jehovah with your whole heart, your whole mind, and your whole strength. And I remember very clearly being in the car with Mum and Dad and saying, "But I love you guys. You're telling me I need to love Jehovah more than I love you."
Yeah.
And even they seem to struggle to explain it to me, you know?
Yeah, I think that is one of these topics that nobody really has an explanation for. But
it's messed up, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And
but what it really means, of course, we now know, is we want you to love the organisation more than you love your family, you know?
Yeah, I mean, even Jesus says, if you do not hate your father and mother, don't even think about following me.
It's all about priorities, isn't it? Yeah.
I think it is, yeah. But anyway, I never had this relationship. I never really felt any connection. So, in hindsight, my faith really was only, how do you call it, a superstition, really. It was straight up superstition. So what I did was, when I did something as a witness, was always based on superstitious reasons, and also because I believe that was what everybody would be expecting from me. I don't really know when I had the first doubts, but then it was quite early, when I was like 10 or 11. I remember sitting at a convention, and of course, with our family, we were always sat in the first row. Because of course we sat in the first row. And I remember sitting there. That is really one memory I have, is sitting in the front row looking up. And I forgot the district overseer's name, but he was rambling on about putting the kingdom first or something. And I remember sitting there thinking, wow, how is it to be disfellowshipped? So I already had my doubts back then, but then I never really talked about it, because I always thought, wow, I probably will have some kind of talk with the elders. I'll have to talk to the elders about voice my doubts. So I always kept them down low. So really, I tried to have a career as a Jehovah's Witness, and I think career is the right word, because having parents who are missionaries, having a father who's a presiding overseer, and I'm not having a go at my parents, it's not really their fault either, they're victims themselves. It is what it is. They were missionaries, he was a presiding overseer. My father was very popular public speaker, so at least once a month we went to a different congregation where he held a talk and everything. So I was always part of this family that had this massive standing in the circuit, and even the whole district, and everybody thought, well, these kids are going somewhere. And then also my uncle and my aunt are in Bethel, in Selters, and they are well known as well, because my uncle is this wizard at putting printing machines together. So he's been to Japan, he's been to Nigeria, and single-handedly built printing machines. Everybody knew my family, which is quite a drag, actually.
There was a pedigree, a spiritual pedigree.
There was a spiritual pedigree, so everyone knew someday I would be an elder. But somehow I really sucked at witnessing work. So pioneering was out of the question, because I was scared. Because I was really scared. I hated preaching all my life. So the best I ever achieved was auxiliary pioneering. Did that 1 or 2 times. Never managed the full 60 hours. Fell short of that fire, but everyone was sort of did your best, cool. And I always voiced my wish to become a ministerial servant. I never was, actually. I think that was quite good, actually, but the 4 wouldn't do. So career-wise, a lot of expectations, a lot of potential. If you're into football, you know, in Germany we call them forever talents. It's like players where they're 18, 19, everywhere said they'll be massive, they'll be superstars, and then they end up playing in a mid-tier club somewhere, and they never really had their big breakout. That would have been me, really. Right. Yeah, like us. You're having a go, aren't you? But yeah, that's the thing. I once wrote an article for JW Survey about my family.
You did? Yeah.
And the flip side, of course, was that you got away with a lot more being in a family that had a pedigree, because I think people wouldn't be telling you, they wouldn't snitch about you that much. And also I think, I'm not sure how it is in other congregations, but I'll tell you how it was in Bielefeld. Bielefeld is quite a big town, actually, with about 320,000 inhabitants. So we had 14 or 15 congregations in that town, different language groups. And for a long time I wasn't allowed to associate with the German language congregations, because the kids were notoriously bad. Not disfellowshipping reasons, but like close to disfellowship. But then I got older, and my parents somehow thought, well, better than the worldly friends. So I was allowed to hang out with them. And it was really funny, because we really got into a lot of trouble. And there's this camping ground in Germany at Edersee Talsperre, and it used to be run by a former missionary couple. So Jehovah's Witnesses would go there, obviously. And then there was this tradition of once a year about 200 Jehovah's Witness youths would meet up there for a weekend and really have a raucous. And things that happened there was a lot that happened there that would have been this fellowshipping grounds. But I was just there once or twice because I wasn't allowed to go there when I was a minor, because my parents knew exactly what was happening because they were friends with the camping ground owners. But then when I was 18, I went there. I went there twice, and we really misbehaved.
Oh, wow.
Not just fellowshipping grounds, but the drunkenness would have been. And funny thing was then some of the parents of my mates who were elders as well in the German congregation, they heard about it, so they got us all together in a room, 20 kids, and we knew we'd be getting really done in now. And really what happened was they told us that because we were so stupid to let other people find out about it. And they said, hey, I'm an elder, you have to sign it. It falls back on me. So that was the problem. It was not even that we had done something wrong, it was that we had brought reproach upon the elders. And that is really, in summary, that is how it is being the kid of an elder, because you get away with much more stuff than the normal people do.
So you were a little bit of a hellraiser?
Yeah, to an extent. I always knew where the borders were, because I can't go too far.
And you said before that you were disfellowshipped for fornication. So
Yes.
is that how that came about, through bad association, or was it just making a break for it with the world? Or
It's both actually.
Yeah.
In the 2 years prior to my disfellowshipping, well, 4 years back, not 4 years, 2 years actually, when I was 18, I went to a pub with a friend, Jehovah's Witness friend, and at a separate table I saw a girl I had a massive crush on when I was at school. So I went over to her, we started talking, we exchanged numbers, and we became a couple. She wasn't a witness. I know how it is with somebody who's not a Jehovah's Witness. I hid it from everybody. And we were together for about 3 months, and then the whole Jehovah's Witness thing really had made pressure on us, and we broke up. We were apart for about half a year. We got back together, we're about together for a year. And more and more people found out about it. My mum found out about it. And I never understood her reaction to it, because she didn't snitch on me. She was more like, that's really not good. But I think she knew at that point that if she would be too hard on me, she would.
That would be it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So she was like, well, at least he still is a witness, and maybe it's just a phase. But nobody in the congregation knew about it because I had privileges. And I know that nobody knew about it, because if anybody would have found out in the congregation, I would have lost all my privileges. I wasn't a ministerial servant, but I did the roving mics, I was in charge of the PA, I was in charge of the literature desk and stuff like that. I read the Watchtower and the Watchtower study. I had the odd talk in the congregation, so yeah. I wasn't part of becoming a minister, so nobody knew about it. And this relationship went on for quite a long time. And we never had sex or anything. We had hands-on stuff, of course, but never, where we say, okay, this is now.
Can you just demonstrate, please? Just,
on you, yeah. Of course, yeah. Shall I show where I touched her on you? I think this will have to be cut, probably.
Yeah. It won't get monetized then if we go down that route. Yeah.
So I had this relationship with this worldly girl, and then after a year it broke up because obviously she wanted to have a proper relationship. I couldn't, and I wasn't at that point yet, so we broke up. Funny
Do you
enough,
regret that?
Yes and no. I mean, I regret it because no, not really, because I know we would broke up anyway sometime down the road. But
it's not something that you're kind of holding a candle for. It's
no, not. I don't hold a candle for it, but I think we would have broken up later.
Yeah.
And we probably would have still had a good time together. So yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's alright.
generally nobody cares. So.
It's not the BBC.
Okay. So yeah, I think bad thing has happened. That we could have probably been still also very good friends if we broken up, but I think that was out of the question. So we broke up. And funny thing is, I was on holiday with my Jehovah's Witness best mates, and they had found out about it. When we were in Hungary at the Balaton Lake, and then after 5 nights being there, they sat me down and had a real good talk with me. Like, they had found out that everybody has this phase and it's fine, but hey, I'm too important to them, they don't want to lose me to the world and stuff like that. And the funny thing is, I had thought about breaking up anyway because the pressure was too big. But that was just the last straw, so I said, yeah, sure, break it up. So returned them, and then she was like, yeah, I thought that too, it just working. Broke up with her, and then I was at this transition point, I was 18, and I was like, hell, this is not working for me being a Jehovah's Witness. And then I met a Jehovah's Witness girl from another congregation, and we started a relationship, we got engaged, and at that point, I mean, back then we didn't have that expression, but I was a PMO. I was physically and mentally ill. I was doing everything by numbers. I was doing my 10 hours per month, sometimes 11, sometimes 9, 10 on average.
But you knew it was bollocks.
Yeah. No, well,
you had a good
I had
idea.
a superstitious belief. I never, at that point, I didn't think Jehovah's Witnesses were wrong. I thought I was wrong. I believed I couldn't be a good Jehovah's Witness, so the honest thing would be not to be in it. But then I was with this Jehovah's Witness girl, and the funny thing is, she came from a family that my parents looked down on because they weren't these really fervent Jehovah's Witnesses. They were like run-of-the-mill, weak. I think weak was a word used back then. They were weak Jehovah's Witnesses. But yeah, I got engaged to her. So what do you want to do, right? And since she was the weak one, I had the feeling I had to be the strong Jehovah's Witness. So there we are again, what I said before with Tony Morris. I had something to hide, so I became more fanatic. So I was quite fanatic, and then a month before we got married, she cheated on me, and I'm forever thankful she did. So we broke up. I remember the elders coming to us and saying, it's a very mature decision, because she confessed and she had a judicial committee and everything, and she repented, so that was all fine. And I testified in her favour. I said, I'm not mad at all. I'm glad, because we noticed we have our differences, and we broke up our engagement, and she's repented, so it's fine. I'm all cool. Don't have to disfellowship her for me, you know? So, no hard feelings. And the elders came up and said, that was very mature that you broke up the engagement. Of course, you shouldn't be breaking up an engagement, but it was a mature reason and everything, so very good. Better to wait and give your all to Jehovah. And then it was just a month really after that. And I think it was even before the wedding we should have had that. I met a woman at work. We somehow got involved, and yeah, I mean, I had so many possibilities before that night really to have sex. Never did.
Was that the first time, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah.
And did you feel very guilty as a result of that?
I actually didn't feel guilty.
No.
I felt I knew it was wrong, but I didn't have a bad conscience. It was more like, okay, how long can I go on before I come clean? There was 2 things I had to do before.
That's sad though, isn't it? When you're thinking in those terms.
Yeah,
you know,
it is.
That there's like this clock ticking, and how do I kind of maximise this enjoyment before I have to, pull the curtain down on everything?
Absolutely, it is. It's like these films where you've got this guy who has to get something done before he turns himself in. And it was 2 things I wanted to finish. Was one, I had this group of friends with Jehovah's Witnesses. We were my best mates, and we always went on holidays together. So I knew I had this last holiday with them, and I went one last time with my brother to England. and we visited my auntie, my adopted auntie, basically. And I knew, okay, I have these 2 vacations, and after that, I'll go to the elders. And that's what I did. I went on vacation with my buddies, then I went for a week to England with my brother, and we came back. And then after one meeting, I went to the elders and I said, I have to talk to you. And I said, okay. Proceed immediately into something serious. And then we went to the back room and I said, yeah, I have to confess I committed fornication. And of course, you know how it is. I don't know how it was with you, but it's always positive, commending me that I confessed. And I also know that now there will be a judicial committee and they will get in touch with me. Yeah, and then I had the judicial committee meeting. My parents didn't know about anything yet. And this is people who've never had a judicial committee meeting really don't know how pathetic this whole concept is. Because I don't know how it was with you, but the elders sitting in front of me, this absolutely tragic, comical tribunal, which it is. They knew me my whole life. We moved to Germany when I was 4, and I was in this congregation since I was 4 years old, and all of the elders who were there, one elder moved to the congregation later, but he knew me from the circuit. So all of them knew me from when I was a kid. And it was, I knew, I went into this meeting and I'm not repenting, so I knew exactly what would be happening. Didn't know the ins and outs of the meeting, but I hadn't read the elders book back then. But somehow they would ask me some question, and at some point they would ask me whether I would repent or not. So there are these men, these 4 men who knew me my whole life, and they're going through all the scriptures. And, obviously, what I did was wrong. Jehovah was very good. Jehovah's merciful, and he wants me to repent and wants me to come back. And I'm only waiting for the question. So I'm sitting there and really have this lesson next to going, when does this bloody question? And all the time noticing that there's this one brother on the right hasn't said anything. He was our congregation secretary, and I had funny, he was a very weird bloke, but he was also a very nice guy. He always showed an interest in me, and he was this nerd. He was into computers and everything. I bought my first computer from him, and I think outside of Joe's witnesses, he would have been the kind of guy people would have bullied. But somehow we had this connection. He said nothing. He didn't even look at me. He was just sitting there. So then finally came the question. Do you repent? No, sorry, he said, have you ended this relationship? I said, no, I haven't. Okay. No, you have to end it. I said, no, I have to end it. Will you end it? I said, I'm not thinking about it right now, I'm not considering. So you're not repenting? I said, yes. To be precise, I am not repenting. And then I think that was the most important moment, because in that moment I noticed how I was so completely cramped up. It started light, and then I looked to the right, and the elder, I see him crying. He's sitting there, he's crying. Behind the guy is like on the stand, and he's crying. He's sitting there with tears running. Because in this moment, you realise what was happening. And he never disfellowshipped anybody before. You know?
Right.
At that moment he realises
that he was complicit in...
He's disfellowshipping a friend. He knows he's losing a friend. And that's why, I'm not even mad at the elder. I never was at any point mad at the elders. There's one elder I was mad at, but for totally different reasons. It had nothing to do with that. But these are, and that is something that also Watchtower brings upon these people. These are not trained psychologists. They're not trained in anything other than this stupid elders manual and the ministerial training school. These are just normal people like you and me who are set up to be some kind of, what they call a judicial committee, but it's a tribunal, who are to preside over people they know and puts basically a death sentence on them. Because that's what they're doing. When you disfellowship, that's a death sentence.
Well, sometimes it ends up being a death sentence if they commit suicide.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely, yeah.
But what some people will be wondering, and I'm wondering...
Yeah. Sorry that I'm rambling on, though.
No, it's okay. And just to let you know, this battery might give up on us, and when that happens, I might have to run up.
Yes.
But what people might be wondering is, why go through the pantomime of a judicial committee when you could have faded?
Yeah. That is probably the number one question I'm asked. It's something I went also into depths in my book, which is only available in German. So lucky for you.
I want to ask you about the book later, but yeah.
There is a very good reason why I did that. First reason is I didn't leave because I stopped believing. I still believed Jehovah's Witnesses were the true religion. I still believed in Armageddon.
At that point,
yeah.
Okay.
I still believed I would die in Armageddon.
Because you said you were PMO before, and I think of PMO as meaning that you don't believe anymore.
Sorry, I have to clarify.
Yeah.
I was PMO because
you weren't taking it seriously.
Yeah. What I questioned was my place in this religion, not the religion itself. So when I left, I was with open eyes accepting the death sentence. And I thought, for one, it's the honest thing to do. At this point, I'm saying to Jehovah, I'm not a hypocrite anymore. I was a hypocrite. Many of my friends are hypocrites. But I'm not anymore.
Yeah.
I was honest. The other thing is, this may sound weird, but it was easier. Because if I would have come out to my parents and say, I'm not Jehovah's Witness anymore, I would have at that point maybe even killed them. Because they were broken-hearted as it is, but they, till today, have this hope that I will come back. Even
really?
Yeah.
Well, of course, they're encouraged to have that hope at the latest convention,
I mean, I am an apostate now. I'm quite open about being an apostate since 10 years.
So you've written a book, which again I'll come to, but so you're literally not just an apostate, but you're kind of an apostate author. You're probably kind of the most well-known, one of the most well-known apostates in this part of the world, and yet they're still thinking you might come back.
Yeah, I think they will never give up this hope, and I mean they're both in their 70s.
Are they expecting you to pulp your books or something? Or?
No, I think, you see, the funny thing is, I know they have my book. I don't know if they read it.
Right.
The day before it was published, I sent them an email. I said, look, I want you to hear it from me. This is what happened. I told them about the book. I also told them I'm not sending you a copy because I know, I read the literature till today. I know you're not supposed to have apostate literature because that is what it is. If you want to have it, I'm happy to send you a copy, but you'll have to ask me. I'm not sending you a copy. I'm not. I respect your beliefs.
Yeah. Well, that's nice. Yeah.
Because I always send them my stuff, what I do, always, but not this book. I didn't hear from them for about 3 or 4 months, and then an email come from my dad, very short form, told me I want to take you up on the offer. Can you send me the book?
Oh right, that's good.
So yeah, sure, absolutely, I'll send you the book. Because he said, as far as I know, you also speak about us in the book, so I want to know what you think. But here's the thing: everybody, even Jehovah's Witness, who have written me to tell me that I'm of course apostate and it's bad what I'm doing, they also always said that they admire that I don't say one bad thing about my parents. But my parents are good people. I love my parents, they're good people. They are victims of this organization. They always treated me well. With the exception, of course, of shunning me. But apart from that, they did their best. That my brother and I had a great childhood. So I never say anything bad about them. And that's also, I think, reflects the book. So that aside, of course, everything else is I tried to paint a fair picture of Jehovah's Witnesses in the book.
Yeah. I wish I could say I'd read it. But
yeah, but it's German. I mean,
I did learn a bit of German in high school.
Yeah, it's 500 pages.
But I remember the book coming out, and I actually remember being in Switzerland. I was in Zurich for some reason, and we went into a bookshop, and there your book was.
Yeah, I think it's like it has this glass front, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there too.
You were there?
Yeah, I had I was at a talk show.
Isn't it owned by like an ex-witness?
I think so. Yeah. It's owned by ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, and it's also they often have like events.
Right.
So that's why the book.
It was a very, very hip place.
Absolutely hip. Yeah.
And I remember leafing through it, and even though I couldn't read it, I was very impressed with the endnotes and with the.
Thank you.
I could see by the dates that you'd gone right up to the publishing date.
I tried to.
In terms of using the most recent material.
Yeah. That was for one. There's this.
And it's a beautiful cover as well. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. I didn't do the cover.
Right. Yeah.
That was a publisher. Design who did it, but they showed me the cover.
Yeah.
And they said we can do something else. I said no, that's fine. That's a perfect description, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very important for me to have let's say a borderline scientific approach to it. And as you know, and it's been covered on your website as well, they're suing my publisher right
That's
now.
what I wanted to ask you about, and I understand that you might not be able to divulge everything, but Watchtower literally sued your publisher simply because you had criticised the organisation, and they tried to suggest that you'd misrepresented them in some way.
Yes. So the book has around 500 pages. There are 300 footnotes, 300 plus footnotes in the book. There are 8 points they have an issue with. So 8 passages in the book that they are suing over.
They're still suing.
Yeah,
still ongoing.
The case is still ongoing, but that's just normal German bureaucracy.
Right.
It just takes ages for these things to happen. And both sides have been stalling. Actually.
Right.
They have postponed some dates, and we have postponed some dates.
Okay.
But anyway, it's like it's actually 10 passages they take issue with. None of these passages is about theology. So everything in the book I criticize about their beliefs, about their actions, about anything really. Even I've got a small part about child abuse in it. So everything I say about what they believe in, they have much of a challenge at all. They can't, because it's all, I have a quote for everything. Like with Trump, there's a tweet for everything. There's a quote for everything. What they have challenged is inaccuracies in my portrayal, because I have in German there's a genre called narrative non-fiction. I don't know if you have that in English speaking as well. It is when it's basically not a completely scientific approach, but you also bring in some personal touch to everything. Your book is also narrative non-fiction, so your book would be classified.
So you're talking about the memoir, because mine's like flips between memoir.
Exactly, it's the same with me. It's a memoir, and it goes into their beliefs and everything. And in the passages where I have my perspective, it's my tone is a bit more flippant, and there are some parts they consider to be inaccurate. And for obvious reasons, I won't admit to anything, but in some passages I can understand their viewpoints, that they are taking to court. That is again a different question. So there's some things like what they didn't like is my portrayal of the usage of the form where you chronicle the attendance. Your home Bible studies.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And they take issue with the fact that I didn't mention that this was discontinued in 1990 in Germany.
That's very petty.
Yeah, it is very good. That's what we're talking about.
Right,
All of these
okay.
parts are very petty.
Right.
There's another part where I verbatim say that I have hold the governing body accountable for all the deaths from blood transfusions.
Which is a perfectly reasonable
Absolutely. So the court
observation.
dismissed that right away because it's my opinion.
Yeah.
But then they took issue with the number I mentioned, and I quoted different sources, like this one Milton chap.
Oh, the 50,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that was just an illustration. So,
Yeah.
so.
But you surely didn't say this is how many.
No. But I literally said there are estimations.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, of course, the blood issue was really the only part where it was about theology, where they took issue with it, or doctrine. And then there are other parts where, well, they're all very petty, really.
Well, the examples that you've given.
Yeah, well, really in the.
But what I don't understand is, I've obviously had a letter from Patterson about the Pillowgate videos, which you know I can kind of understand.
Yeah.
I've not heard a peep out of them over the reluctant apostate, and it seems to me that, because I've heard of other court cases in this part of the world as well, it seems to me that Selters is almost on a completely different strategy when it comes to, because the way that Watchtower is supposed to deal with apostates is to pretend they don't exist.
Exactly.
So it's very, very odd that they are pursuing this strategy with you.
Yeah. There are a couple of reasons I can think of. The first and foremost is in Germany and Austria, they're officially a church. They're a state-recognized church.
Right.
And timing coincides with them being recognized in all German states. So this gives them, of course, much more leverage than being just just any odd religious faith.
Right. Okay.
So that's the one thing. The other thing is, I think this is, they view it as some kind of pilot project. See how far they can go, because they've sued.
You're the guinea pig.
Yeah, they've sued other Jehovah's Witness books as well.
Right.
I'm not really sure how that went. I think in one case the publisher was so small that they agreed to change different passages, and I understand that because well, litigation is so expensive. Now with my publisher, they of course chosen Holden, Robot, and lucky enough to have a publisher which is one of the biggest publishers, also one of the most renowned, but maybe not the biggest in terms of sold books, but Robot has a very good reputation in Germany, or in the whole DACH region. And so, another important detail is they brought the case to Hamburg. And Hamburg, the court, is notoriously known in Germany, especially when it comes to media court cases, to rule in favor of the party that is suing the other party. And I think that is a factor. So I think they're just trying how far they can go. And first of all, they sent us a letter telling us to cease and desist, basically, and Robot said no. Bring it on. So they brought it on, and as far as I know, so this is what I can say. The case is still ongoing. I was summoned as a witness last month. Speaking of being petty, the reason I was summoned was to relate my experiences as a kid witnessing an elders meeting. So I had to tell the court that when I was 10 or 11, I really wasn't sure how old I was, in the break of a Circular Overseers Visit elders meeting that was held in our place, I got to bring in cookies and tea for all the elders, and I saw that they had myriads of forms to distributed on the table, and I remember the study report form because it's a very distinctive form. Really.
I remember it.
Yeah, it is a distinctive form, and I remember it was lying around there, or it was in the box or something. So they flew me in from Vienna to Hamburg to talk about
to
that.
tell that
It was
story.
completely- and I was sitting there, and the judges were looking at me in complete disbelief, and I think they know that it's quite petty what they're talking about, but they have to do it. So we're at a point where like, the majority of the points they're suing us for, they are tending to rule in our favor. There might be one or two points where they say, well, witnesses have a point. So probably what it will boil down to, that's what I expect, is they will probably say, in general, we rule in your favor. For next editions, these two passages will have to be more precise.
Oh, well, that's nothing though, is it?
That's
just
nothing.
2 passages. It's a thick book.
Yeah,
And so this will all boil down to just changing the words in 2 passages, yeah.
and that is fine with me.
Yeah.
What really goes on my nerves is that the witnesses will probably sell this as a major victory for themselves if they win in one or two.
But will they though, Misha? Because do they really want to sell anything that might lead to witnesses hearing about the title
Yeah.
of a book that they shouldn't read?
And this is an interesting detail actually,
Yeah.
because why are they suing now, like 4 or 5 years after the book was published? This is in detail. In Germany, the average sales of ebooks per book are like 3 to 5% of all sales are ebooks. The rest are still printed books. With comics and with young adult novels, it's higher, but on average, it's like 3 to 5%. With my book, 20% of all sales are ebooks. I do not believe that I reach a particular tech-savvy demographic. My belief is,
It's JW's downloading it.
reading it on their tablets.
Yeah. At the meeting, probably.
Yeah. At the meeting, probably.
Yeah.
And I think this has transpired up to the hot shots, and they see it as a problem. Because I can't say I've received a lot of mails from Jehovah's Witnesses who have read it. I have received it from 1 or 2. Actually, one Jehovah's Witness elder mailed me anonymously because he was scared probably. They mailed me and said disagrees with practically everything that is in this book, but he wanted to tell me that he appreciates that I'm being fair. And I thought that was nice.
Yeah, that's
I answered him and said, yeah, it's perfectly fine, fair enough. I don't expect you to
endorse it.
accept my opinion, my standpoint. But yeah, that was what I was going for. So I thought that was nice of him.
Yeah.
But I have received mails from people who have at least said that in the process of leaving or fading away, they have read it.
Right.
And I will say this. It was, when I wrote this book, it was not my intention to write a manual for people to leave the witnesses, because I'm not. It was therapy for myself.
Yeah.
But if it does help, that's fine with me too.
Would you write it all over again if you?
I think I would be it was too much effort. It was too much
Really?
work. It was a lot of work.
You
so-
regret writing?
No, I don't regret writing it. I think I would be too. I would think, it's too much of an effort to do so.
Oh, right, okay.
No, I would do it again. I don't regret writing it one bit. Probably if I would write it now, there would be parts that would go into much more detail. The whole child abuse factor would get a more chapter and stuff like that. I think they can be glad that I didn't write it now, because there's a lot they got away with quite well. Because when I look at the literature right now, they're going ballistic.
Yeah,
If this goes on for another
too much material to
where
go
to start? Just the illustrations of Armageddon now are just like these theories of a madman. It's like they've got Alex Jones doing the illustrations now for the Watchtower.
I can barely keep up, to be honest.
I don't know how you do it. Really.
No, I don't either. Do you think your publisher has regrets?
No, I asked them. I said, first of all, I've had so much feedback from German exchange witnesses who are following the case, and I really appreciate that you are standing up to them. And they were really happy to hear that. And then I said, well, thank you for doing it, but did you have any qualms about it? No, you get sued all the time. And it was like, I don't even think the bosses know about this case.
Oh, right. Okay.
Which I thought was really funny, because right now they also have a much bigger cases. They published a book about the network of right extremists in Germany. Literally everyone in that book who was mentioned sued them, so that was really the case that had them.
Yeah, you're not.
I'm just a small book.
Exactly.
So I think it's also a case of they don't. I think publishers don't like being bullied.
No.
And since when they got the cease and desist, I put a 40-page dossier together with quotes and everything showing my position in it. They shared it with their legal counsel, and never at any point did they say we'll follow the cease and desist. So it was basically like, yeah, do they have a point? If you say they don't have a point, then we're going ahead with it. I mean, I'll be honest, if they would have come up with something where I was wrong, I would have admitted it immediately. Because I think that's just fair.
Yeah.
I want to be right. But they're just being petty.
Yeah. People will be, the vast majority watching this will be English speakers, and they'll be thinking, is there ever any chance of having Goodbye Jehovah in English?
Yeah, there might be. So the publisher never has got any. The way it works in Germany is, in the English-speaking world, publishers are not sitting around waiting for German language books to be published and be translated into English. If they do, it's normally because it's been a massive bestseller. Now, it was a bestseller, but not enough for international markets, so we have to do it. Also, then again, I think with your book, with Amber Scorer's book, publishers will have a look at the market and say, well, if people are interested in the subject, there are enough books, and it wasn't that big a bestseller to warrant. So from a publisher's side, there's nothing planned for that.
So you'd probably need to get the rights off the publisher to do your own.
So there are two options. Well, I have to be honest, at this point in life, I'm a bit egotistical, so I'm into some other projects at the moment. I'm producing music, so it's not at the forefront yet. But I have this vision that is something I want to get into in a couple of years. Is my publisher has said, that's also important. I don't know how it is in England or in America. In Germany, as a publisher, you never give up your copyright as an author. The copyright always stays with me.
Yeah.
But the publishing rights, of course, go to the publisher because it's a legal thing.
Yeah.
So they also have, of course, the rights to sell it to another language publisher. But they have said to me, if there's no interest from any publisher, at any point I can have the English language rights back.
Oh, right, that's good.
For no cost at all.
Oh, that's good.
Normally, and that I think is very fair, because normally, as an author, you would have to buy it back because they paid you for these rights. And they pay for these rights too, so I mean, it wouldn't be much, but I think it's very fair. So at some point, I will either look for a publisher or I would set up a crowdfunding to pay for the translation.
Yeah.
Because with book on demand releases like with Amazon, you don't really have to front the production.
No.
So, or even as an ebook, it would be cool too.
Yeah.
So basically, because I would want to have a proper translation, it is too much work for me personally.
Yeah.
And I also think a professional should do it because I don't want to get it wrong, because then I would be the publisher. And that's also another thing. I want to wait for this case to end to see how it goes.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, when this case is brought to an end, and no matter how it goes, either we have a full win or a partial win, they can't sue me again. Not for this book. They would have had to do it now. Now, when this case is closed, that's it. They would have a hard time explaining to a judge why they didn't sue for other parts of the book in the first place. When that case is closed, I think at this point, too big a risk for me personally.
And you have other things going on, which is
But actually, the risk is actually the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Because if they sue me personally, I have to think about my girlfriend. I have to think about my family as well. So that it's like.
So, your life now, you're happy? You don't regret leaving the organisation?
I never regretted the one. Well, let's say in the beginning, I had a tough time the first 2 or 3 years. Might have regretted it. Can't really remember. But I never really seriously considered going back. And at this point, I don't regret it at all. Now I have to differentiate because I suffer from chronic depression. I have still my issues. I went through therapy, and I think I've really worked on it quite well. I had really tough fear of demons. So I think the worst trauma I had was the whole cult thing. I couldn't watch any movie with ghosts or anything.
Oh, why was that?
Yeah, I was really scared of demons.
Oh, just because you were scared of demons?
Yeah, I really thought
okay.
that they would terrorize me.
Wow.
And then that was a good thing. I was in therapy, and my therapist was great. Funny enough, or good thing. As a kid, he had a friend who was a Jehovah's Witness, and I didn't trust anybody, but I trusted him. When he told me that, I trusted him. And therapy is really only the therapist asking me questions, and I had a good therapist to ask me the right questions. The most important question was, so demons are the enemies of Jehovah, Satan is the enemy of Jehovah. Jehovah's Witnesses tell you if you do bad things, demons will torment you. If you do bad things, you are hurting Jehovah's feelings. Why would demons punish you for hurting Jehovah's feelings?
That's a good point.
And I was like, yeah.
They would surely punish you for doing what Jehovah wants you to do. Yeah.
Why would they attack me for being an enemy of Jehovah? That doesn't make any sense. So at that point I was so
That's brilliant, yeah.
bullshit. But that was the first step. And then the other thing was I had a mental breakdown when Fukushima happened, because I thought this is Armageddon, this is great tribulation. And I had my girlfriend back then was a psychologist, and I don't believe in fate, but that is one part of my life, because there's no reason whatsoever why we ever had a relationship. But
she was there for you.
Yeah,
at
she
that
was
time.
there for me. So
Brilliant.
it probably was some kind of don't believe in kismet or anything, but it was a good thing. And I had a complete mental breakdown because of that. I thought, okay, this is a great tribulation. I will destroy everything. My parents were right. Jehovah's Witnesses were right. And then she said, okay, I've had enough. I'm looking for a therapist for you. You're going to therapy. I went to the therapist and said, this is what's happening. And he told me, okay, look, this is the homework. Your homework is look up to see how many earthquakes have happened from 1940 to now, and beforehand, how many wars happened, how many people died, and come back. And I did that, and then I started realizing this whole thing with things have been getting worse since 1940. This is the biggest bullshit. I mean, Europe, since 1945 really, there has never been such a period of peace in Europe since 1945, because before 1945, you're English, we hate the French, we hate the Germans, they've always been fighting.
I'm going to lose a load of French subscribers.
Sorry,
this
no, we don't hate French. I'm half French, so it's my fault. Excusez-moi. No, we love the French, but
no,
the French
I love
English.
No, just to get this right, the English love the French, but we also love Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Exactly.
That's all I'm going to say.
So they have never gotten.
Yeah.
So we live in the most people, and when I realized that, and then everything started to crumble, and then I started losing the fear, and that is also around that time. I don't know, between 2010, 2011, 2012. I started looking at apostate literature. I'm not really sure when we got in touch, but it must have been like 2013 maybe.
Something like that.
And I found your website, I found Paul Grundy's website, I started, and that is the first time, that was like 10 years after I left, I started looking at the doctrine again. I started questioning stuff, I started getting into it. I looked at different. I started reading books about how psychology works. I read on how supernatural phenomena come about, why people believe in it. You know, there's famous experiment about where you've got your hand here, and there's this plastic hand behind a screen, and somebody strokes the plastic hand, and you feel it on your hand. And it's like, I mean, that's pure demonic shit, but it's just psychology. It's the brain playing tricks on you. And when you realize this, things start to fall into place, and that really helps. So at this point in life, I've really, I don't know if I've ever will overcome my trauma. There's still a lot I have to work on. Like, I've got really bad trust issues. I've got a very patient girlfriend who really helps me with that, but I have massive trust issues with people. At this point, I can watch films with a court setting, with ghosts and everything. Still watch them during the day, so I wouldn't watch them before I go to bed or anything, but I can watch them. I have overcome a lot, but so I'm in a good place. I don't know if I'll ever be really happy ongoing because I suffer from depression, but I'm in a good place. So
Good.
I'm sorry, I always take so long to answer your question.
No. It's very helpful to understand that sometimes questions don't have a yes or no answer.
Yeah, that's the point, yeah.
And there'll be lots of people who can relate to that.
The short answer is I'm okay, and that is good.
Yeah,
That's really good.
I don't think that there is such a thing as fully purging this crap from our lives. I think it's a case of kind of squeezing it into a tiny little box where it's manageable. You know? And I actually think to some extent fully, if there is such a thing as fully moving on, it's understanding that we in a sense can't fully move on, and that we are who we are because of our experience.
That's true, yeah.
Having just this awkward embrace with our past and not letting it, eat us up.
Yeah, that's why I don't really regret anything.
Yeah.
For one, it was my choice to go journalist business in the first place, so there's nothing to regret there. Of course, there are decisions I made or things that happened where and I would be cool if I would work better. What I do regret is things I did myself, because I think through the trauma I was in a bad place for a long time, so I hurt a lot of people. And I own that, because even though I know many of the things I did or the things I said comes down to trauma I suffered, I still did it myself, and so I own it. But yeah, sure, I regret having done that. But other than that, I mean, it is such a banal thing to say, but life is too short for regrets.
Perfect. Before the battery runs out, I would like you to give a message to any witnesses who might be having doubts, who've stumbled on this video, who see the big bad Misha on camera, and what would be your message to them if they're at the stage that you were at previously, where you're kind of wrestling with these issues? And I want you to give that message in German.
In German?
Yeah.
Okay.
To the camera.
Yeah. Cool. Wenn du jetzt gerade dieses Video schaust und ein Zeuge Jehovas oder eine Zeugin Jehovas bist und zweifelst, ob du dort richtig bist, oder weißt, dass es nicht die richtige Religion für dich ist, oder weißt, dass du nicht mehr an Gott glaubst, was auch immer der Grund dafür ist, nimm das ernst, aber sei dir auch sicher, dass du gehen möchtest. Denn die Entscheidung zu gehen ist nicht unwiderrufbar. So, Jehovas nehmen einen ja immer wieder zurück. Aber egal wie es jetzt ist, wird dein Leben verändern. Und du wirst Menschen verlieren, die du liebst. Du wirst in eine Welt hinausgehen, die du nie so kennengelernt hast, und es wird Dinge verändern. Das Wichtige ist wirklich zu wissen, dass du es willst. Aber wenn du es willst, dann mach es. Denn es gibt eine Welt dort draußen. Die Welt besteht nicht nur aus der Welt der Zukunft. Es ist mit all ihren Fehlern eine gute Welt. Und du kannst dort glücklich werden. Mindestens genauso glücklich wie vorher, wenn nicht sogar glücklicher. Denn überhaupt die Tatsache, dass du darüber nachdenkst, zeigt, dass es erhebliche Zweifel gibt und dass du es tatsächlich in Betracht ziehen solltest. Mach dir keine Illusionen, es wird nicht einfach, aber du wirst es schaffen. Und es ist machbar und es gibt eine Welt dort draußen. Und eins kann ich dir sagen, es gibt kein Armageddon, es gibt kein Paradies, das auf dich wartet, das ist alles, was es gibt. Nutze es. Wenn du glücklich bist beim Jehovah, bleib dort. Wenn du nicht glücklich bist, geh. Und wir freuen uns auf dich.
Vielen Dank. That's excellent.
Bitteschön.
Wunderbar.
Basically what I said was...
You don't have to tell me because you're going to help put the subtitles on it.
Okay. Nice. I would have said much less then.
But Misha, it's been an absolute pleasure
The same.
to meet you. It's a real honour.
It's incredible. I mean, as I said before, your website had a big part in helping me to move on. So thanks for that. I'll be forever in your debt. Paul Grundy is another chap who played a big part. And yeah, I mean, we've known each other over the internet for so long. It's such a pleasure to meet you in person. Short pleasure.
Yeah. Well, you know that you're welcome to come visit any time, and hopefully this isn't the last time I run into you here
I
in
hope
Vienna.
so, yeah. I mean, I'm not that much into traveling, to be honest. But we've heard there is, somewhere in Croatia, there's a beach for dogs.
Yes, they're hard to find, but there's the legend of the beach that allows dogs. Yeah.
Also, there's this Austrian complex of having. There used to be an empire.
Yeah.
Austrian-Hungarian Empire.
Yeah.
And part of Croatia used to be, and if I'm not mistaken, Trieste.
Yeah.
Is a part of Croatia.
Actually. It's on the border.
It's on the border, yeah. But anyway, the Croatian, as we call it, the Adria, the Croatian coastline always used to be, I think, the favorite vacationing spot for Austrians.
Oh, it still is.
And I mean, how long did you drive here? 5-6 hours?
5 hours, yeah.
So we've always thought about going to Croatia someday, and if yes, we're
you will not be short of German speakers when you come to the coast. They're everywhere.
There are a lot of Croatians in Vienna.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's because of the war back then.
Sure.
The Yugoslavian diaspora is massive in Vienna. A lot of Croatians, a lot of Serbians, a lot of Bosnians, a lot of Kosovarians, a lot of Albanians. So your wife really would have a lot of possibilities to speak Croatian.
Misha is trying to get me to move to Vienna, it seems.
Vienna's beautiful, yeah.
And on that note, I hope you've enjoyed this interview.
Thanks for listening.
Don't forget to subscribe to the John Cedars channel for more such videos. And as always, okay, I'll say it. Thank you for watching.
Oh yeah, thank you for watching.